The fluorescent lights inside the gas station buzzed faintly, as rain tapped against the glass windows like fingers impatiently drumming. Ryan Cole stood behind the counter, his tired eyes fixed on the clock above the door. It was nearly 5 a.m. Another night spent selling energy drinks and cigarettes to strangers passing through. His feet ached, his back throbbed, but he didn't complain. He never did. Not anymore. Outside, the world was soaked in gray. Puddles reflected the empty streetlights. A single bus wheezed past like it, too, was tired of the route. Ryan reached under the counter and pulled out a lunchbox, not for himself, but for his daughter. He'd packed Lily's breakfast before leaving for work, peanut butter on toast, cut into stars the way she liked it. Even now, even after everything, he remembered the stars. 2 years ago, he had worn a paramedic's uniform. 2 years ago, his hands had saved lives. Now they scanned gum packets and cleaned up spilled coffee from the floor. Back then, his world had made sense. He had a wife, Maria, who would wait up for him no matter how late his shift ended. They had laughed, cried, built dreams together. Then one winter morning, she was gone. A blood clot, sudden and silent, had stolen her from him and left Lily. Without a mother, everything after that became survival. Some nights, Ryan found himself talking to Maria under his breath, asking questions into the quiet. How do I raise her alone? Am I doing this right? He never got answers, but he asked anyway. The job center was already half full when Ryan stepped in later that morning. His hair damp from the rain, he looked around at the others, each one carrying their own invisible burdens. In his hands, he clutched a crumpled folder that held his old certifications. Nobody cared anymore. No one wanted to hire a paramedic who hadn't worked in the field since grief consumed him. He flipped through the classifieds slowly. Part-time janitor, dishwasher, delivery assistant. Most paid barely enough to cover gas. Then one had caught his eye, bold and brief. Full-time private driver wanted. High pay, discretion required. Must start immediately. There was no company name, no contact details beyond a suite number and a time for walk-ins. Ryan blinked at it. Something about the wording felt different, urgent, almost desperate. He walked to the front desk and asked the receptionist about it. She looked up from her computer. Then her brow creased. That job's been listed for months. She said, lowering her voice, nobody lasts. They either quit or get fired in a week. It's for her. He asked. She leaned in, like sharing a forbidden story. Camila, the billionaire, owns half the tech patents that run your phone. Cold as stone, never speaks unless necessary. People say she hasn't smiled in years. One guy said he got fired for sneezing too loud. Ryan let the words hang in the air. Billionaire. Cold, no smiles. He could have laughed if it didn't hurt to laugh. He had a daughter who needed lunch money. He had bills with red warnings on them. If being quiet was the price, he could manage that. He'd already learned how to live in silence. He stood up, tucked the paper into his coat pocket, and nodded. Where do I go? The receptionist blinked, surprised. Suite 918. Downtown. Be there by 3. As Ryan stepped back out into the rain, the wind bit through his jacket, but he didn't shiver. Somewhere between grief and survival, he had learned how to feel cold without flinching. He looked up at the slate sky, said a silent prayer to Maria, and walked on. He didn't know it yet, but his life was about to change in ways no job description could ever prepare him for. The wind pushed against Ryan's chest as he stood in front of the towering black iron gates. Raindrops clung to his borrowed blazer like nervous sweat. Camila's estate loomed beyond the hedges, a modern fortress of glass and steel, all sharp lines and no warmth. It looked more like a tech laboratory than a home. Ryan exhaled slowly. Lily had drawn a tiny smiley face on a sticky note and slipped it into his pocket that morning. Good luck, Daddy. You're brave. He pressed his hand to it now like armor. The gates opened silently, as if watching. No guard, no voice on the intercom. Just the mechanical groan of privilege making way. He drove through in the battered sedan. He could barely afford to fuel, swallowed whole by a driveway wide enough for limousines. He parked beside a matte black Bentley that looked too expensive to touch, let alone drive. Inside, a sharply dressed assistant greeted him. clipboard in hand, voice clipped. Follow me. Speak only if spoken to. She values silence. Ryan followed her through a vast hallway of white marble and silver fixtures. Art hung on the walls, abstract and cold. This wasn't a home. It was a statement, untouchable, unfeeling. They entered a minimalist office where Camila sat behind a glass desk. She didn't stand, didn't even look up. Her black hair was pulled into a tight bun. Her blouse spotless, her expression unreadable. Her fingers moved swiftly over a tablet. The assistant placed the contract on the table. Camila didn't speak, just gestured toward it. Ryan looked at the assistant. You start tomorrow, 6 a.m. sharp. Don't be late. No questions, no personal chatter. She hates noise. He signed. The next morning, Ryan stood by the Bentley in a pressed shirt and tie that Lily had ironed for him. Camila approached at exactly 6:02 a.m., heels clicking on the stone path. Without a word, she slid into the back seat. Not a glance, not a nod. As he drove, the silence grew heavier than the rain clouds overhead. He caught glimpses of her through the rearview mirror, jaw clenched, eyes fixed on something invisible out the window, her hand occasionally brushing the silver locket. She wore. Every stop was precise. Meetings, site visits, private functions where she never stayed long. She moved like a ghost with an agenda. He noticed things. She never spoke to staff. She never smiled. Once, she wiped down the door handle after someone else touched it. On the third day, something strange happened. She left a file in the back seat. Ryan turned to return it, but caught sight of what was inside. Photos. A young woman, smiling wide, eyes full of life. Then newspaper clippings. Tragic crash claims local girl. Was family in mourning. Before he could process it, she returned, caught him holding it. Her eyes turned sharp, not angry, but exposed. Did you read it? Ryan shook his head. No, just saw a picture. She reached forward and took the folder, her fingers grazing his, cold, trembling. Don't ever look through my things again, she said, voice tight. Then, softer, like a breath cracked by memory. But thank you for not lying. He expected to be fired, but she got into the front seat the next day and sat in silence. On day 5, Camila's voice broke the quiet. You used to be a paramedic. He nodded, surprised. How did you know? I read your file. Most people lie. You didn't. Not much use for lies these days, he said, eyes still on the road. A pause. What made you stop? Ryan hesitated. My wife. She passed. Everything just stopped with her. Camila turned her head toward the window. He thought the conversation was over. I had a sister, she said, after several minutes, younger. She loved to sing. I told her she wasn't good enough. She took my car that night, crashed, died. The words hung between them like fog. I haven't spoken about her in years, she added quietly. That night, Ryan found Lily asleep on the couch, waiting for him. Her unicorn drawing was in his hand again. He kissed her forehead and whispered, things might be changing, sweetheart. And they were, not loudly, not quickly. But the silence between him and Camila was beginning to feel less like a wall and more like a bridge. But he didn't know, none of them did, that someone was already watching from the shadows. Someone who didn't like the bridge being built. Someone ready to burn it down. Rain slithered down the windshield like slow tears as Ryan pulled the Bentley into the circular driveway of a high-rise glass tower downtown. Camila had said nothing the entire ride. Not even when the morning talk show mentioned her name in a segment about corporate power players. He glanced in the mirror. Her eyes were distant again, fixed on nothing. Her locket glinted faintly as she absently touched it. A ritual he had come to recognize, something she did when she was silently at war with herself. He parked, she stepped out, didn't say goodbye, didn't need to. That was their rhythm now, quiet trust. But as he waited in the car with the engine humming, his phone vibrated. Sitter canceled again. Can't watch Lily today, so sorry. His heart sank. He looked at the clock. Lily would be up by now, brushing her wild curls in front of the bathroom mirror, singing off-key to her favorite cartoon theme. He had no choice. His shift wasn't over, but he couldn't leave her alone. 45 minutes later, Lily sat in the front seat of the Bentley, her legs swinging, sketchpad balanced on her lap. Her little rain boots tapped rhythmically against the glove compartment. She hummed softly as she drew, oblivious to the luxury around her. "Daddy, the seat is warmer than our whole apartment." Ryan smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Just for today, okay? Don't touch anything." She nodded, focused on her unicorn sketch. Camila exited the building sharply at noon, heels clacking against wet pavement. Her umbrella was unnecessary. She moved like the rain didn't dare touch her. But as she neared the car, her steps slowed. Her gaze drifted to the passenger seat, where Lily sat, tongue poking out slightly in concentration as she colored a rainbow above her unicorn. Ryan jumped out to open the door, heart pounding. "I'm so sorry." Her sitter, Camila, held up a hand. Then, to his shock, she walked to the front passenger door, knelt, and looked directly at Lily. "What are you drawing?" Her voice, once ice, was barely above a whisper. Lily tilted the pad up proudly. "It's a unicorn. Her name is Star. She's magic." Camila stared at the sketch like it was something she hadn't seen in years. Her lips twitched. Then, unexpectedly, they curved. A smile, not polished, not practiced, real. "Soft. Do you like unicorns?" she asked. Lily nodded seriously. "They believe in you even when grown-ups forget to." Camila blinked, her breath catching in her throat. Her eyes flicked to Ryan, then back to the child. "She's yours?" Camila asked. "Yes, ma'am," Ryan said, his voice careful. Camila stood, brushing invisible dust off her coat. "She's special. She's everything," Ryan said. Camila didn't speak again. She slid into the back seat. The drive was silent, but different now, not heavy, not cold, just full of something unsaid. That night, as Ryan was preparing mac and cheese in their tiny kitchen, his phone lit up with a message from a number he didn't recognize. "Bring her again tomorrow. She can sit in the car. It helps." He stared at the message for a long time. "Who's it from?" Lily asked. He smiled. "A lady who thinks unicorns are magic too." The next morning, Camila got into the front seat. From that day, everything shifted. She started asking questions. What's her favorite color? How did your wife pass? Do you miss being a paramedic? Questions that weren't small talk, they were real. One afternoon, she asked, "What did Lily mean about grown-ups forgetting to believe?" Ryan thought for a long time. "When you've been through enough," he said. "Quietly, you stop expecting things to get better. Kids don't know yet that the world can break them, so they keep hoping." Camila turned away, blinking fast. "Do you remember what it feels like to hope?" he asked gently. She didn't answer, but she didn't need to. That evening, Camila invited them both into her home. Dinner was quiet. At first, awkward forks, polite sips, Lily using the wrong spoon. But then Camila laughed, genuinely laughed, when Lily said peas looked like tiny green planets. Ryan stared at her in awe, not because she was a billionaire, but because she was starting to look human again. Camila showed Lily her private library after dinner. "Pick any book," she offered, "even the ones too big." Lily picked a picture book with no shame. Ryan stayed behind in the hallway. He spotted a dusty frame on a shelf. Camila with her sister, young, full of life, arms wrapped around each other. It was the same girl from the photo in the folder. Camila joined him later on the back porch, barefoot, holding a glass of wine. The garden lights glowed faintly. "She used to draw unicorns too," she said softly. "She said they'd protect her. I told her that was childish. Now I'd give anything to believe in something as simple as magic." Ryan didn't speak. He just sat beside her. Camila didn't cry, but she leaned her head on his shoulder. In the distance, Lily's laughter echoed from the hallway, and the woman once believed to be untouchable and reachable closed her eyes. For a moment, letting it in, unseen, from across the garden, behind the tall hedge. A flash from a camera cut through the dark. Someone was watching, and they weren't watching kindly. The next morning felt different, not because the rain had finally stopped, or because Camila now sat quietly in the front passenger seat beside Ryan, her hands folded in her lap instead of glued to her phone. No, it was something else, something he couldn't name yet, like a hum just beneath the surface of the world. They drove in silence, but it wasn't empty like before. It was full of things that didn't need to be said: shared grief, quiet understanding, and something Ryan didn't dare call closeness, not yet. "She's painting today," Camila said suddenly, eyes still fixed ahead. "Who?" Ryan asked. "Your daughter. She mentioned it yesterday, in art class. She said she was painting a sky that never ends." Ryan glanced at her, surprised. "You remember that?" Camila turned toward him, her expression unreadable. "I forget numbers, not people." The words stayed with him all day. By the end of that week, dinner at Camilla's estate became a quiet routine. Lily would chatter about her day while Ryan tried to remind himself that this wasn't permanent. It couldn't be. Billionaires didn't keep drivers around for long, especially not ones who came with unicorn-obsessed children and too many second-hand clothes. But Camila defied every rule he expected her to follow. One Thursday night, she asked him to stay after dinner while Lily explored the vast library upstairs. "Would you walk with me?" she asked. They strolled through her garden under dim hanging lanterns. She wore no shoes again, letting the grass brush against her toes like she hadn't done that since childhood. "When I bought this house," she said, "I built everything to be beautiful, but not to be lived in. Do you know how long it took before I noticed I never opened the windows?" Ryan didn't answer. He didn't have to. They walked in silence until she stopped beside the small koi pond. "Warren doesn't like you," she said suddenly. Ryan froze. "I know," he told a board member. "You're manipulating me, playing the sad single dad card to get inside my life." A flush of heat crawled up Ryan's neck. "I didn't come here to..." Camila held up a hand. "I know, if I thought that, you'd be gone already." She turned toward him, her voice steady but low. "But the world is cruel to women who love below their status. They'll say you used me, that I fell for a story, and they'll say it even louder if it's true." "Is it true?" he asked carefully. Her eyes didn't flinch, not yet. Before he could speak, Lily's voice called from the porch. "Daddy, look." She gave me a bookmark with unicorns on it. Ryan smiled and waved. Camila looked away, but not before he saw something flicker across her face. Longing, fear, something that wasn't power or pride. Something human. The next few days blurred into a rhythm of drives, school drop-offs, shared glances, and lingering conversations. But the world outside their fragile peace had begun to stir. Someone had leaked a photo. Ryan didn't see it until he walked into a grocery store and saw it on a magazine rack. Camila was smiling faintly beside a little girl, holding a drawing of a rainbow unicorn. "Reclusive tech queen softens, secret family revealed." His stomach dropped. He bought the magazine, left the cart behind, and drove straight back to the estate. Camila was already in the garden, pacing, phone in hand. "They published it?" she asked without looking at him. "Front page." She exhaled hard, her lips tight. "Investors will panic. Board will demand answers. They'll ask who you are, why you're here." Ryan's voice was calm, but heavy. "If this puts Lily in danger," Camila interrupted, her voice colder than he'd heard in weeks. "Don't finish that sentence." He hesitated. "Camila, I don't care about your money, your board, your image, but Lily's just a kid. I can't let this turn her life into a circus." Camila stared at him for a long time. Then she whispered, "You'd leave, wouldn't you, if it meant protecting her?" Without question. A long silence passed. Then she nodded. "And that's exactly why I can't let you go." That night, a shadow moved through the trees at the edge of her estate. A camera clicked once, then again. A voice on a burner phone whispered, "We've got what we need." What they wanted wasn't a scandal. They wanted Camila out, and they were ready to use Ryan to do it. Because in a world ruled by silence, a little girl's laughter had become a threat, and someone powerful had just declared war on it. Silence in the Bentley was no longer awkward or cold. It had become something sacred. But on this particular morning, as Ryan drove Camila through the shaded roads leading to a downtown shareholder summit, that silence trembled like glass about to crack. Camila sat poised in the front seat, dressed in slate gray, her expression unreadable. Her hand rested on a folded sheet of paper she hadn't let go of since breakfast. Lily had given it to her that morning, a drawing of Camila riding a unicorn, her locket glowing like a star, She said I look like a superhero in it, Camila murmured. Ryan smiled faintly. That's because you are, to her. Camila didn't answer, but the smallest smile tugged at her lips before fading. They were nearing the hotel when Camila's phone lit up. Incoming call. Warren, her jaw clenched. She let it ring. Then another call came through, this time from her lead investor. They saw the photo, she said, voice low. They're panicking. They think I've become emotionally compromised. Because you smile? Ryan asked. Because I'm human, she replied bitterly. Ryan parked in the underground garage and turned off the ignition. The moment between them stretched long and tight. They'll try to control the narrative, she said. What will you do? Camila looked at him, and for once, her eyes held no strategy, only exhaustion. I'll tell the truth. Before he could respond, the passenger window shattered. Glass rained into Camila's lap as two men in ski masks reached in, grabbing her arm. Ryan acted on instinct. He threw the door open, yanked the first man out by the collar, and slammed him against the car. A scuffle erupted. The second man bolted. Tires screeched. Alarms echoed through the garage. Camila was breathless, shielding her face. Ryan's knuckles bled as he stood over the unconscious attacker. Security swarmed in seconds. Who sent them? Camila demanded, brushing glass from her coat. The attacker groaned on the ground, dazed but smirking. Maybe next time, don't fall for the help. He spat, then coughed blood. Ryan stepped forward, fury in his eyes, but Camila held him back. Take him to the hospital, she ordered the guards. Then straight to my legal team. Later that night, after the police reports and hospital visits, Camila sat in her home office alone. The press conference had been canceled. Rumors swirled that she had been injured, hospitalized, even kidnapped. Ryan watched her through the glass doors. She sat motionless, staring at her reflection in the darkened window. This was never supposed to happen, she said when he finally entered. You think this is your fault? No, I think it's my past catching up. She slid a folder across the desk. They didn't just want to scare me. They wanted to discredit you. They found your old arrest record. Ryan stiffened. It was dropped. Completely false accusation. I know, she said gently. But the world won't care about the truth. They'll say I replaced a respected executive with a gas station night clerk. A man with a record. He looked away, jaw tight. I should go. Camila stood, crossed the space between them. No, you should stay. Camila, you didn't just protect me today, she said. You reminded me what loyalty looks like. Something money can't buy. He exhaled slowly, unsure of what to say. Then she placed Lily's drawing on the table between them. The unicorn, the locket, the smile, that picture, she whispered, means more to me than any contract I've ever signed outside. The press swarmed the gates. Helicopters hovered. Stock prices tumbled. Inside, Lily danced through the hallway in her pajamas, unaware of the storm. But upstairs, Camila received a package. Inside was a flash drive. A single file. Video. MP4. She clicked it. Security footage. Grainy. Time stamped. The garage. Ryan fighting the attacker. But then footage of Warren, 2 days earlier, entering that same garage, shaking hands with one of the masked men. Her face went cold. That night, she called an emergency board meeting. The screen behind her played the video in full. You wanted proof I haven't lost my mind, she said, calm and sharp. Here's proof that someone else lost their integrity. Gasps filled the room as Warren's betrayal played out. He was escorted out of the building in handcuffs. As for Ryan Cole, she added, he's no longer just a driver. He's head of my personal security detail, and more importantly, he's someone I trust with my life. The room fell silent. No one challenged her. Not this time. When Ryan returned home that night, Lily was asleep on the couch with a unicorn plush tucked under her chin. On the table, beside her sketchpad, was a single envelope with his name written in Camila's delicate handwriting. Inside was a photo, the three of them, laughing in the garden. Behind it, a note. Sometimes the people you protect end up protecting you back. He sat down slowly. Outside, the press would keep digging. But in this house, something real had begun. And it wasn't going to break. not without a fight. The air outside the estate felt thicker now, not just from the humidity that clung to late spring evenings, but from the way the world had started watching them really. Watching them, Ryan could feel it everywhere. In the way reporters lingered outside school drop-offs, in the sudden silence that fell in rooms when he walked in, and in the looks that whispered, "What is he doing here?" Camila pretended not to notice, but Ryan could see the tension return to her shoulders. The same tightness she carried the first week he'd met her, only this time. It wasn't loneliness pressing down on her, it was judgment. Still, she didn't waver. She gave him access to her inner circle, introduced him to corporate allies, assigned him a discreet company credit card with his name embossed in gold. "You're not a ghost anymore," she told him one morning. "You're visible now." And that scares people, but not everyone. In her orbit welcomed him. There was a man named Dalton Reese, a sharp-jawed investor who had once been considered Camila's likely partner, not in business, but in life. The tabloids had gossiped about their history for years. He wore tailored suits and smiled like a wolf, his words always dipped in sugar but meant to slice. At a corporate gala, Dalton approached Ryan near the bar. The chandeliers sparkled above them like frozen stars. Ryan was dressed in a suit Camila had picked out. He felt like an imposter, enjoying the high life. "Cole?" Dalton asked, swirling his drink. "I'm just here for the salmon skewers," Ryan replied. Forcing a polite smile, Dalton leaned in. "You know this won't last, right? She always replaces people. When they get too close, it's not personal, it's her nature." Ryan didn't bite. "Then I guess we'll see if she changes her nature." Dalton's smile dropped. "Don't ruin her." Ryan walked away. Meanwhile, Camila had her own battles. The board, still rattled by Warren's betrayal, demanded a review of her leadership. Some called for a temporary replacement, one of them being Dalton himself. "You're too involved," he said during a closed-door meeting. "You've made personal decisions that affect corporate optics." "I'm not interested in optics," Camila replied. "I'm interested in impact." He smiled again. "Your shareholders aren't." It was clear Dalton wanted her seat, not because he cared about the company, but because Camila's heart, now visible to the world, made her vulnerable. And power-hungry men smelled vulnerability like blood in the water. That week, Camila withdrew. She stopped joining Ryan for drives, canceled dinners, ignored his texts. Lily noticed first. "Why doesn't Camila come by anymore?" she asked one night while brushing her teeth. "She's just busy, sweetheart," Ryan said. But deep down, he knew something was off. On the third day of silence, he knocked on her office door. No answer. He let himself in. Camila sat curled up on the couch, barefoot again, holding Lily's unicorn drawing. "I let them get in my head," she whispered. "They said I've gone soft, that I'm ruining everything I built." Ryan sat beside her. "You're not soft, you're strong enough to care, and that terrifies them. What if they take it all?" He touched her hand gently. "Then we start over. I've done it once. We'll do it together." She looked at him, really looked at him. "Why do you stay?" "Because you're not just someone I work for," he said. "You're someone I'd fight for." Her eyes filled, but no tears fell. Instead, she leaned in slowly, uncertainly, and rested her forehead against his. No words. Just breath and warmth and understanding. Days later, Camila held a press conference. "I have been accused of letting my personal life interfere with my professional judgment," she said. "I want to be clear, that's exactly what happened, and I'm proud of it." Gasps echoed through the room. "I've built systems, tech, networks, but none of it matters without people, without connection. This man," she gestured to Ryan, who stood off stage holding Lily's hand, "reminded me of that." The headlines the next day were brutal. "Tech queen confesses to romance with former gas station clerk. Billion-dollar empire built on love doomed to fall. Investors panicked." The board called another vote, but Camila didn't blink. In the middle of that chaos, something happened that changed everything. On Lily's birthday, Camila told Ryan to invite a few of her friends for cake in the garden. When they arrived home, they found a wonderland. Fairy lights twinkled in the trees. Soft music played. A petting zoo had been set up in the corner. Her favorite storybook character walked out from behind the hedges. Ryan was speechless. "Camila, you didn't have to. I wanted to," she said, brushing a hand against his. "And not just for Lily." She turned to Lily and bent down. "I didn't have a birthday party when I was 8, she said softly. "I didn't think anyone cared enough to plan one, but you showed me magic still exists. Thank you." Lily hugged her without hesitation. Later that night, when the lights dimmed and the guests were gone, Lily looked up at Ryan and whispered, "Daddy, can we keep her forever?" Camila heard it. She looked away, her throat tightening. Ryan didn't answer. Not with words. Instead, he stepped closer to Camila, gently took her hand, and didn't let go. But somewhere far from the laughter, Dalton Reese was meeting with someone in a private office. "Are you sure you want to go this far?" the man asked. Dalton's jaw tightened. She made her choice. Now I'm making mine. He slid a file across the desk. Inside were photos, papers, and something darker. A secret. One that could shatter everything. Let's see if her driver still wants to stay when he learns the truth. The storm came quietly at first. No lightning, no thunder, just a thickening in the air, an uneasiness that settled over Ryan like a second skin. He didn't know what was wrong, not yet, but he felt it. Like a shadow had begun to stretch across the edges of the life he was finally starting to believe he deserved. Camila had been glowing lately, not in the polished, poised way she wore at summits or conferences, but with something softer, real. She smiled more, laughed with Lily during board game nights. Her hands didn't tremble as often when she touched the locket. And sometimes, when Ryan caught her looking at him, she didn't look away. They had almost become something that resembled a family. But peace, Ryan knew, was never permanent. And this one had enemies. It began with a knock on his apartment door, a place he rarely visited now, but hadn't yet given up. The man outside wore a dark suit, a name tag clipped to his lapel. "Mr. Cole." Ryan nodded. "You've been served." An envelope, thick, cold to the touch. Inside, a summons. Child custody review. Petitioned by the state, prompted by anonymous reports of inadequate care and unstable home environment. Ryan's heart dropped. He read it again and again. Lily, someone was trying to take Lily from him. He called Camila immediately. She answered on the first ring. "Ryan, someone's trying to take her." Within an hour, Camila had flown. In her top legal team, the best child advocacy attorney in the state sat across from Ryan, scanning the documents with tight brows. Anonymous tip, the attorney muttered. "Claims you're living off a woman you're romantically involved with, exposing your daughter to unstable environments, and have a violent past. That's a lie." Ryan said. "Doesn't matter," the lawyer replied. "In family court, perception is everything." "We can handle this," Camila added firmly. "We'll get ahead of it." But Ryan shook his head. "This isn't just about me. Someone's targeting Lily. This is personal." Camila froze, and then she understood. Dalton. The pieces began to fall. Dalton Reese had access to the board's private files, to Camila's calendar, to Ryan's background check, and more than that, he had motive. Camila had humiliated him publicly, had replaced his shadow at her side with a man he considered disposable. Camila confronted him days later in a sleek downtown restaurant during a scheduled investor brunch. He sipped his wine like a man with nothing to lose. "Custody court, really?" she asked, her voice steady, but her eyes burning. "You're emotional," Dalton said, smiling. "Dangerous even. A woman with too much power and too little reason. People get hurt when women like you fall in love with dreams. You're trying to destroy a child's life." "No," he said. "I'm saving yours. Before you throw your entire empire away on a man with a tragic backstory and a pretty face." Camila didn't respond, not with words. She picked up her glass of water and poured it into his lap. The room went silent. "You're right," she said calmly. "I do fall for dreams, but unlike you, I don't crush them to stay in control." Back at the estate, Ryan stood alone on the back porch, watching Lily chase fireflies under the glow of hanging lanterns. Her laughter was soft, pure, the sound of a little girl who had no idea someone was trying to rip her world apart. Camila joined him, barefoot as always, holding 2 mugs of cocoa. "We'll fight it," she said. "I won't let them take her." "This isn't your fight," Ryan replied. She turned to him. "She made me believe in magic again, in people, in family. Of course it's my fight." His hands trembled slightly as he took the mug. "They dug into my past. I know. I was arrested once. I never told you. Falsely accused. Charges dropped. I read the full report. They won't care. They'll say Lily's better off somewhere else, somewhere safer." Camila stepped closer. "Do you think there's any place safer than beside a man who would bleed for her?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Her hand reached for his, and this time, he held on. The custody hearing date was set. Camila insisted on testifying as a character witness, even though her team warned against it. She walked into the courtroom with no makeup, no tailored suit, just truth in her voice. "I've seen powerful people lie," she told the judge. "I've seen men ruin lives with rumors. But Ryan Cole is the only man I've met who asks nothing of me but honesty. And Lily? She's the safest, happiest, most loved child I've ever known. She saved us both." The judge didn't speak for a long moment, then turned to Ryan. "Mr. Cole, do you have anything to say?" He stood slowly, looked at Lily. Coloring quietly at a table nearby. "I may not be rich. I may not be perfect. But I wake up every day thinking about how to make her feel loved, how to make her laugh, how to keep her believing in unicorns. That's my job. Not driving cars, not working shifts, just being her dad. And I won't let anyone take that from her." The courtroom was still. Lily looked up, smiled, and waved. The judge smiled back. Decision pending. But while the world waited for the verdict, Dalton Reese made one final move. He leaked Camila's personal emails to the press private correspondence, including her quiet plans to step down from her CEO role to spend more time with Ryan and Lily. Headlines exploded. Tech queen to resign for love, from boardrooms to bedtime stories. Camila Voss's shocking life shift. Stock dropped. Reporters circled the estate like vultures. Inside, Camila sat with Lily on the floor of the library, reading a picture book. "Do you know what loyalty means?" she asked. Lily nodded. "It means you stay, even when it's hard." Camila kissed the top of her head. "Exactly." Outside, a man in a dark coat stood across the street, watching, waiting. He lit a cigarette, dialed a number. "She still hasn't broken," he said. Pause. "Then we hit the last nerve." Another pause. "The girl." And with that, the storm broke for real. The morning the storm truly broke. It began like any other, soft sunlight streaking through the curtains, birds calling half-heartedly from the hedges, and Lily humming to herself as she tied her shoelaces. But Ryan had a weight in his chest that didn't match the brightness of the sky. Something was off. Camila felt it too. She stood in the doorway longer than usual, watching Lily like she wanted to memorize every second. "You okay?" Ryan asked her quietly, handing Lily her backpack. Camila nodded too quickly. I don't trust the quiet." Neither did he. They were halfway to school when a black SUV ran a red light and blocked the intersection. Another appeared behind them. Ryan's grip tightened on the wheel. "Daddy," Lily whispered, "keep your seatbelt on." Men in dark clothing emerged from both vehicles. No weapons visible, but their formation was too practiced, too deliberate. One of them raised a phone and spoke into it. Then he pointed directly at Ryan. "Ryan, hit the gas." The Bentley roared past the first SUV, narrowly missing its bumper. Tires screamed. Horns blared. Lily cried out in surprise, her sketchpad sliding across the seat. Ryan weaved through side streets, heart pounding, eyes flicking between the mirror and the road. Camila single quotes S voice came through the dashboard speaker. Her assistant had tracked the Bentley's signal. "Ryan, where are you? We're being followed. Get to the west gate of the estate. It's automated. I'll override it." Ryan turned sharply, narrowly avoiding a parked van. Lily clung to her stuffed unicorn. "Daddy, I'm scared." "I know, sweetheart. I won't let anything happen to you." By the time they reached the estate's private entrance, the gate had already begun to slide open. Ryan floored it. They cleared the opening just as one of the black SUVs skidded to a stop outside the iron bars. Inside, Camila was waiting. She ran to the car as Ryan flung the door open. Lily jumped into her arms, trembling. "They tried to trap us," Ryan said, breathless. "They won't get near her again," Camila said fiercely, clutching Lily tight. Inside, the staff locked down the house. Camila's head of security, a former CIA operative named Vera, reviewed the security tapes with Ryan. "They weren't trying to kidnap you," Vera said. "They were trying to scare you, rattle you, force a mistake." "Why?" Ryan asked. "Because the custody hearing verdict comes out tomorrow. If you're seen as unstable, they'll use it." Camila stared at the footage on screen, then pointed to a face. "Pause it. Zoom in." The grainy image showed a man near the back of the group. Ryan's breath caught. Dalton, not in disguise, not hiding, watching from a distance. Camila's voice turned ice cold. "He sent them. We can't prove it yet," Vera said. "Then get me what we need," Camila replied, "and start background checks on everyone who ever worked with Dalton. I want to know what he eats, where he sleeps, and who wipes his wine glass." That night, Ryan tucked Lily into bed in the guest house. She clutched her unicorn tighter than ever. "You promise we're safe?" she whispered. He kissed her forehead. "Always." But as he stepped outside, his heart ached, because he knew safety wasn't a promise you could keep. Not when billionaires declared war with lawyers, cameras, and shadows. Camila stood at the garden wall, staring out into the night. Her hair was loose, her arms folded. "He crossed a line," she said without turning. "And he's not done," Ryan replied. She looked at him. "They're going to paint me as reckless, emotional, dangerous. They already are." "You could walk away," she said, her voice quiet. "Still win custody, protect Lily. All you'd have to do is say you were manipulated by a grieving woman with too much money." Ryan stepped closer. "I'm not going anywhere. You're not the only one who's lost something, but you're the first person who ever made me feel like it wasn't the end." She blinked rapidly, trying to stop the tears. Then Ryan did something he hadn't done before. He reached for her face, gently, reverently, and kissed her. Not like a man trying to claim something, but like a man returning home. The next morning, the custody court released its decision. The judge had ruled in Ryan's favor. Full custody. "You are a father of integrity," the statement read. "Your love, stability, and the support system around you, including Ms. Camila, have provided an environment that is not only safe but deeply nurturing." Camila exhaled a shaky breath. Lily jumped into Ryan's arms. "We won," she squealed. But as Ryan smiled, he noticed the way Camila looked out the window. The paparazzi were waiting. Not for pictures, for blood. Camila made one final call that evening. She gathered her team in the conference room of her headquarters. "Dalton Reese has moved from corporate competition to personal attack, attempted coercion, emotional terrorism, and endangering a child. It ends now." She slid a file across the table. Inside, contracts, emails, leaked financial fraud. She looked at her board. "You wanted to question my emotions. Now question his ethics." Within 48 hours, Dalton was arrested. Wire fraud, investor manipulation, conspiracy. He was escorted from his penthouse in cuffs as the same reporters who had once speculated about his relationship with Camila now tore him apart. 2 weeks later, the estate felt calm again. Not quiet, just calm. Lily's laughter echoed through the hallways. Camila danced barefoot in the kitchen with flour on her cheeks. Ryan sat on the porch each evening, sipping coffee, holding the kind of peace he once believed wasn't meant for him. And then one morning, Camila handed him a wooden box. He opened it slowly. Inside was a key. "What's this?" he asked. Camila smiled. "Not to the house," she said. "To the rest of your life, if you'll have it." He looked up at her, then at Lily, who watched with wide, hopeful eyes. And for the first time, Ryan said the words he had once been too scared to believe in. "We already have everything I ever wanted." But behind him, Vera received a message on her secure phone. Threat neutralized, but one file still missing. One name left unaccounted for. Vera's eyes narrowed. There's someone else still out there, and the past, no matter how far you run from it, always leaves one last door unlocked. The sun rose over Camilavas's estate, like it always did, gentle light spilling across polished windows, birdsong threading through the air like lullabies. On the surface, everything seemed calm. Lily was running barefoot through the garden, chasing butterflies with a plastic wand. Ryan stood in the doorway, sipping coffee and smiling. And Camila? She was humming as she stirred pancake batter in the kitchen, wearing one of his old t-shirts. But peace, they had learned, was often just the pause before the next blow. Vera stood outside the kitchen window, speaking into her earpiece. We traced the digital leak that exposed Camila's emails and personal files, she said. Dalton wasn't acting alone. Camila stepped onto the patio just in time to hear it. Who? She asked sharply. Vera hesitated. It's someone from your company. Someone who's been there for years. Camila narrowed her eyes. Who? Oliver Kent, Vera said. The name hit her like a slap. Oliver Kent, her former legal advisor. Soft-spoken, loyal, quiet. Or so she thought. He disappeared the day Dalton was arrested, Vera added. Wiped his records, changed numbers, transferred funds into untraceable accounts. He was in charge of my private archives, Camila whispered. He had access to everything. And we just discovered something else, Vera continued. There's a document he sent anonymously to a journalist in New York. It's sealed, but labeled under Lily's name. The blood drained from Ryan's face. What kind of document? He asked. We don't know yet, Vera replied. But if a reporter breaks it before we do. Camila didn't wait. She stormed inside, pulled her laptop from the study, and connected to her private archive. The screen flashed to life. A locked file, encrypted, hidden in a folder marked only with a single word, accident. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. Ryan, she said slowly, this might be about Maria. His eyes darkened. My wife. Camila nodded. The car crash. You told me it was sudden, unexplained. Ryan leaned over the screen. There were rumors that the brakes failed, but nobody ever investigated it. She was driving alone. What if it wasn't just an accident? Camila said, her voice tight. She opened the file. Lines of data filled the screen. A diagnostic report, a flagged defect, a recall notice. And then one sentence buried at the bottom. Incident logged under unauthorized test vehicle model registered to Voss Technologies. The room fell silent. Ryan's single quotes S face went pale. Wait, Voss Technologies? That was one of your early prototypes, wasn't it? Camila nodded slowly. Experimental self-drive interface. We pulled the model before launch. It was never meant to hit public roads. Ryan backed away. She died in a Voss prototype. Camila stared at the screen. She wasn't supposed to have that car. She shouldn't have even had access to it. Vera stepped forward. This changes everything. Later that day, Ryan stood alone in the estate's chapel. The silence was heavier now, not the kind he had come to trust, but the kind that whispered betrayals. Camila entered behind him. I didn't know, she said. I swear, Ryan, if I had. He turned around, his face unreadable. You think someone used your prototype to kill her? Camila swallowed hard. Or cover something up. And Oliver Kent buried it. Maybe even arranged it. Dalton had his claws in every corner of my business. It's not impossible he was trying to sabotage us long before Lily ever drew a unicorn. I've spent years blaming fate, Ryan said quietly. But now, I don't know who to blame. Camila reached for his hand. Then let's find the truth. Together, they traveled to New York the next morning. Vera tracked the journalist who had received the leak, a man named Marcus Hale, known for exposing tech scandals and not caring about collateral damage. He met them in a quiet cafe near Central Park. You know, this story could make my career, Marcus said, setting the sealed folder on the table. Voss Tech, cover-ups, death, custody drama, romance, you've got the full package. Camila kept her tone even. How much? Marcus leaned in. I don't want your money. Ryan narrowed his eyes. Then what? I want the exclusive. The real story. The one that ends with her stepping down, and you two admitting that the past is catching up to you. Camila leaned back, voice cold as frost. The story ends when we say it ends. Then it ends tonight, Marcus said, sliding the folder. To then. Ryan grabbed it. Inside, reports, surveillance photos, and at the very back a statement signed by Oliver Kent. The driver knew the vehicle was unapproved for public release. It was a test run. I logged the incident privately per instructions from Dalton Reese. Ryan's fingers clenched. Maria's single quotes s death. Engineered. Hidden. Used. His jaw tightened. He let her die. To test your tech, Camila whispered. He wanted to ruin me, even back then. They returned to the estate that night, broken but burning. The next day, Camila held a press conference. She didn't defend herself. She didn't protect her brand. She exposed it. 2 years ago, a woman named Maria Cole died in a vehicle connected to my company, she said to flashing cameras. This was hidden from me, hidden from the public, and today, we make it right. She announced a full investigation, a fund in Maria's name to support victims of corporate negligence, and the formal resignation of every board member who had served under Dalton Reese's reign. Ryan stood beside her. Not as a driver. Not even as her partner, but as the man who had found the truth and refused to look away. That night, Lily found the two of them sitting on the porch in silence. She crawled into Ryan's lap, sleepy-eyed, and looked up at Camila. We're okay now, right? Camila nodded, voice barely a whisper. We are. Baby girl, Lily smiled. Can we all stay forever? Camila looked at Ryan. And for the first time, he didn't doubt the answer. Yes, he said. But Vera stood at the edge of the garden, phone pressed to her ear. We found Oliver, she said. He's running, but we'll catch him. Pause. He's not just the cleanup guy. He's the architect. And this time, he wasn't done. He had one last plan, and it would hit closer to home than any of them were ready for. The storm they thought had passed was only circling back for its final strike. 3 weeks after Camila stood on a podium and exposed the hidden truth. Behind Maria Cole's death, her empire was still standing, but only just. Voss Technologies had taken a hit, investors were rattled, and social media had turned her into both a hero and a cautionary tale. Ryan was now more than her driver, more than a partner. He was her anchor. And Lily, sweet Lily, was the heartbeat that kept both of them grounded. But somewhere beyond the safe walls of their estate, a man named Oliver Kent was watching them burn a legacy he had once protected. And now, he wanted revenge. It started with a single envelope delivered to the estate. No postage, no sender name. Inside was a flash drive. Camila single quotes s hands trembled. As she loaded the contents onto her encrypted laptop, Vera hovered behind her, watching the screen light up. A video began to play. Grainy, time-stamped, a view from inside Maria's car on the day of the accident. A voice, distorted. Mail, test, begins now. Override engaged, target unaware. The screen flickered, the car jerked. Maria's voice gasped in panic. Then static. The video stopped. Camila covered her mouth. Ryan stood frozen across the room. He had heard her voice again, just a whisper. Of it, a ghost. He sabotaged her, Ryan whispered. He killed her, and he recorded it, Vera said. As insurance or leverage, no, Camila said. As a trophy. The next day, Vera tracked a signal to a private airstrip. Oliver was preparing to flee the country under a false identity. Ryan wanted to go, fists clenched and ready, but Camila stopped him. If we do this like them, she said, we become them. Instead, she called in an ally, a federal investigator who owed her more than one favor. Within hours, a sting operation was underway. Oliver never made it to the plane. He was intercepted, arrested, and in his briefcase, they found more files, documents detailing secret tests, forged signatures, and a ledger. At the top of the page, Dalton Reese. Beneath it, approved sabotage plan, Cole trial, prototype live test. Ryan stared at the name. Dalton had ordered it. Oliver had executed it, and Maria had paid the price. Camila was offered a deal. Keep it quiet, let the government bury the story, and Voss Technologies would survive. But she refused. Instead, She called one last press conference. The world watched as she stood on the same stage, this time beside Ryan, Lily in front of them. "Two men used my company to cover up a crime," she said. "They silenced a woman, and they almost destroyed a child's future." She turned to Ryan, her voice soft but clear. "I can't undo the pain they caused, but I can give the truth. And sometimes the truth is the only thing that heals." Then she reached into her pocket and handed Ryan a small velvet box, not a ring, but a golden chain. At the end of it, Maria's wedding band. Cleaned, polished, found in the crash records Oliver had stolen and hidden. "She never made it home," Camila said. "But this is home." Ryan's hands shook as he took it. He didn't speak. Just nodded. Then he looked at Lily. "We keep going," he whispered. "We live. For her. For all of us." Months passed. The storm faded. The tabloids moved on. Voss Technologies rebranded, led by a new board of ethical innovators, with Camila as founder emeritus, no longer tied to the chains of leadership. Ryan started a foundation in Maria's name, offering scholarships to children who lost a parent to corporate negligence. Camila taught coding classes to young girls in underserved schools. And Lily? She painted unicorns, always with 3 people beneath the rainbow. One day, Camila found Ryan sitting on the back porch, looking out over the garden. "Do you ever think," he asked, "that the worst thing that ever happened to you led you to the best?" Camila nodded. "Every day." Then Lily ran out holding a new drawing. This time, it was different. No unicorn. Just the 3 of them. In a house. Holding hands. And above their heads, she had written in shaky crayon letters, "We are not broken. We are brave." Later that night, Camila opened a journal she had started the week Maria died. She added one final line. "I thought power meant never needing anyone. But true strength, it's letting yourself be loved after the world tries to make you numb." She closed the book. And outside, under a quiet sky, Lily's laughter echoed once more. Not a sound of escape, but a sound of arrival. They had made it. Through fire. Through grief. Through everything money couldn't buy. And they hadn't just survived. They had become a family.